This morning, some serious questions over the popular obesity drug Meridia. Yesterday, the consumer advocacy group Public Citizen asked the FDA to take the drug off the market, and a class action suit was filed against the drug's maker after the deaths of 30 people who took the drug to lose weight.
Has something which may help you eat less. It's called
Meridia can help the seriously obese drop some of their weight.
And it can help you lose weight and keep it off.
Which is why more than 8 million people worldwide have taken it. But now there are questions about the drug's safety after the deaths of 30 people who took Meridia since it came on the market 4 years ago. The drug's maker, Abbott Laboratories, says there's no evidence the drug caused those deaths, and noted that Meridia has been the subject of more than 100 clinical studies of 12,000 patients worldwide. The controversy comes 5 years after the FDA pulled fen-phen off the market. Once considered the wonder drug of weight loss, it was blamed for 70 deaths. As for Meridia, the FDA stands by the drug's safety, but is investigating the new concerns. Joining us this morning from Raleigh, North Carolina, Kathy Swisdor, whose husband died in August. He'd been taking Meridia for 8 months. With me in the studio, Holly Cardwell, who says she developed a heart condition after taking Meridia. And also here is their attorney, Ken Moll, who yesterday filed a class action suit against Meridia. Let me start with you, Kathy. I know your husband died from a heart attack, 51 years old, had been taking Meridia, but why? What evidence do you have that the drug might have been responsible?
Well, I feel that he had been taking the drug, and in May, he died in August, and in May, he had a real good report from the doctor. And at that time, they raised the milligrams to 15 milligrams, and a month, 2.5 months later, my husband drops dead of a cardiac arrest.
He'd had some chest pains, I gather, and it does say on the warning label that chest pains can be a side effect from the drug. Did he check with the doctor about those chest pains?
At the time, he didn't, because he kept making up excuses for why the chest pains, like he had just eaten or something else, stress.
Ken Moll, let me turn to you. Kathy obviously suffered a great loss with her husband dying, but how can you contend that the drug was responsible? There have been dozens of clinical studies, and by definition, people who are taking Meridia are obese or very obese and therefore at high risk.
Well, you have to realize that the studies that were supported to gain FDA approval, Abbott and Knoll Pharmaceuticals' own studies indicate that people taking this drug are going to have an increased heart rate, increased blood pressure, and this is not what you want when you want to try to reduce these two problems.
8.5 million people have taken this drug. There have been 30 deaths, and I would think that number actually, you'd expect it to be higher in an obese population.
What you have to realize is the amount of deaths is much more than 30. These are 30 reported deaths that went to the FDA. Our offices have received thousands of inquiries around the world from adverse effects from Meridia. Yesterday we filed a nationwide class action lawsuit to ask a judge to order the removal of this drug from the market. You have to realize Meridia should have never have been approved in the first place. And the Public Citizen Health Research Group...
But it's been approved by the FDA, and it's been approved in 70 different countries.
Initially, it was 5-4 vote against its approval. And what they did is Abbott Laboratories and Knoll Pharmaceuticals funded studies to show the safety and efficacy of Meridia. This is a drug that the risks greatly outweigh its benefits. In its own study, they gave Meridia to certain patients and placebos to others. The people that took Meridia over a year only lost 6.5 pounds more than the placebo people.
Holly, let me turn to you. You took it for 5 days,
Yes.
Developed some problems?
Yes. I was skipping beats in my heart. Went to the doctor. I've seen a cardiologist. I now have to take heart medication. I never suffered from any heart problems prior to taking this drug.
And you believe the drug responsible?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Nancy Snyderman, our medical correspondent, is joining us from out in San Francisco. I want to get what the sort of accepted medical community feeling is about this drug. Nancy, is it considered safe in the medical community?
Well, it's considered questionable, and I think it has been shrouded in controversy since it was approved. The real bugaboo is that pharmaceutical companies are now looking at obesity at a real health crisis in this country, and there's no doubt about it. They are targeting doctors to treat obesity as a medical condition.
But what advice do you give to people who may say, should I take this or not?
Well, I think you raised a very good point, and that is there have been 30 reported deaths in probably 9 million prescriptions. 20,000 of those are written every week in the United States. It's a small number, but Americans have to get past the notion that they can eat whatever they want and take a pill to melt fat. This still has to be used with diet control, and yes, it causes health concerns. Heart rate abnormalities, blood pressure abnormalities, and anybody who takes this pill and thinks it's going to be a walk in the park is just fooling him or herself. Personally, I would look at other alternatives to lose weight before taking this medication, and if you take it, it has to be done with rigorous physician control.
All right. Kathy Swistor, I appreciate you joining us, and Ken Moll, thank you very much, and Holly, thank you for being with us. We'll be back.